and coaching. I am here with Nicole Hassabella. Did I say that right?
Yes, yes.
Hello, Nicole. And Nick
Hello,
is
how are
what you
you?
go by, right?
Yes, that's fine.
How you
hmm
doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. So what's
Yeah, I'm
going on
happy.
in your world?
In my world, so many things are happening. Um, it's very exciting because this is my favorite time of the year. It's spring and it's just a time of renewal, and I'm feeling it. And then I'm in New Jersey and we're having freak weather where it's almost 80 degrees. So it's just like hard hitting the rebirth and
Yeah,
let's get out there and the sun is shining.
I
So
love
it's
it.
just opening up like the feeling of possibilities. So I love it.
Oh my gosh. I feel like we need that on like a cup or something. But it's true. Like,
Yeah.
and that's one thing that I'm actually allergic to, to the earth.
Yeah.
But so I love springtime and I just love looking at it and from my back deck. And then I love just being able to go and sit outside and just breathe.
Mhm.
Because you're right, it gives you that renewal of this is
Yes, of
fresh.
life.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And especially, we're in that perfect time of the year where the cherry blossoms are blooming.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's just in the morning, they're not there. And then the afternoon, they just appear and then they're going to be gone just as quickly, but it's okay. Because
It,
it's
yeah.
almost like ushering in spring.
Isn't that amazing how the world, it pretty much takes care of itself in that respect.
Yes.
So like there's nothing that's going to stop that. And, it's, they're there, they live, they die. So it's,
Right.
and then they're reborn. So, I mean, I
Yes.
really think that we could learn a lot from nature.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times especially now, like we're just in the height of technology and we've lost touch with that natural flow of life.
Yeah.
Everything has a season, but for some reason, we're always hustling.
Mhm.
And I feel like people are starting to step back from that and
Right.
say, oh my God, wait, this is affecting my mental health, my
Right.
physical health. And do I even enjoy what I want anymore?
Right.
And we're kind of, I think, moving away from the survival mindset to more
Right.
thriving and
Yeah.
just enjoying life.
Yeah.
So it's
Do you
like
think
our
COVID
advancement
is
is
it,
bringing us back.
yeah, is that COVID? Is that what you think that's all stemming from?
I think so. I have a lot
Theories?
of theories, but um I think it affected people. I didn't think it affected me when it first started because I'm more of an introvert
Right.
and I will be extroverted with people that I vibe with,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm like, no, I just want to like stay in my space.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I get to stay home. I don't have to go out. I don't have to get
Right.
dressed. And it was great. But
Mhm.
then it's just like, I don't want to go outside.
Yeah.
Do I really like people? And now I almost feel like the younger generation. I was like, they turned us. They like, it's almost like this pandemic started to just convert all of us
Yeah.
into indoor people that were dependent
Mhm.
on technology in order to experience life,
Yeah.
which is not the way to do it.
No. Mm-mm.
It's
No,
almost like,
it's
well, why
not.
do I have to go there? I can look it up
Mhm.
online and it's pretty real because I'm watching a video.
That's a good point.
I- It's yeah.
It's not though.
So no, it's not. And sometimes I think we realize it too late. So
Mhm.
now we're like, okay, wait, I have to backtrack and like
Right.
where did I misstep and how do I reconnect to myself? It's
Right.
like it's not even about the outside world. It's like, wait, who am I? What
Mm-hmm.
do I stand for now? Because now I've been given that space
Right.
and that time in a way.
I love it.
to figure it out, because it's not being in the office and
Right.
someone always coming up to your desk and asking you for something. It's just like,
Right.
oh, I'm in my own space. How am I going to utilize this time?
Right. Right.
So,
And I feel like we've also come accustomed to almost being scared to be alone before the pandemic. And of course, with the pandemic, you know, we were alone, right? We were alone with our families or ourselves or whoever it is that we live with. And it's that feeling of isolation and being away from people. So I feel like we all just held on to that technology and then maybe forgot what it was like without it.
yes, I can agree with you, because I can honestly say that maybe pre-pandemic,
Mhm.
I wasn't in my phone all the time.
Right.
And just charging my phone in the other room, and I was like, "Oh my God, what's happening?"
Mhm.
Because I
Mhm.
feel disconnected.
Yeah.
And I've consciously tried, but I can also say I haven't tried hard enough. But I'm
Self-awareness.
aware of the fact
Mhm.
that I need to reduce my screen time,
Yeah.
because I'm not doing anything that's benefiting me or enhancing me. Yes, I can. And then I even downloaded like like those brain games.
Yeah.
So I was
Oh,
like, oh, let me play a game, but I'm kind of like, keeping my mind fresh
I love
instead
it.
of just playing Candy Crush or something,
Right.
or
Right.
just scrolling on Instagram, because
Yeah.
those are my vices, Instagram and YouTube. That's where I go.
Yeah. I don't, I'm luckily I haven't done Instagram.
Good.
Um
Don't do
and
it.
YouTube, it's for me, like I don't really like my son and goes on YouTube all the time. So I don't really have to go on YouTube because he does it all for me. Um
Right.
so you know, I feel like I was really into Facebook a little too much.
Hmm.
And when I disconnected from Facebook, like I stopped talking to a lot of people because there wasn't that connection.
Right.
I didn't have that Facebook, but then it's like, that's okay. Cause I feel like now I'm better at being alone,
Hmm.
but it's still hard.
Yes. I loved being alone. Like, people didn't understand it. And I was
Yeah.
like, this is the best. I get to be in my own space.
Yeah.
I'm definitely that person that if there was a camera on me, you would think that I was crazy, because I just make myself laugh, because I'm just like staying connected. Like, spiritual, like I think my spiritual connectedness
Mhm.
is sometimes more important than personal connections,
Yeah.
because they just get stagnant,
Yeah.
like, are you we're always doing the same thing, or let's go out to eat, or like, where's the conversations? So
Right.
that's what I was always craving. And that led me to join um maybe like different coaching
Mhm.
groups, or just like masterminds or
Yeah.
something like that,
Yeah.
just to stay connected. But then over time, I started to outgrow it.
Yeah.
And then I got used to having those people.
Yeah.
And then I was by myself and I was like, I don't know how to be by myself.
Yeah.
Like, I used to know and now I don't know. So
Right.
it's all about reconnecting again.
Yeah. Oh
So
my
it's a
gosh.
constant. You can't
Yeah.
ever, that's why, like, through the week, have your designated times to
Mhm.
just,
Yeah.
I think the word meditation is overused, and people are just like, what's meditation? I'm gonna sit on the floor
Yeah.
and hum and close my eyes and
I mean, you
all this
certainly
stuff.
can if you want to.
Yes. Yes, you absolutely can. But I think meditation is like, oh, I took a shower, or I'm washing the dishes. I've had so many aha moments
Mhm.
when I'm just doing dishes and I'm not
Yeah.
trying to think of anything. It just hits me. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, that's because I was like, I wasn't trying. to
Right.
figure something out. It was just, I was in a receiving place. So then it's almost like I got that guidance.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like that's more so meditation. It's just
Yeah.
being in receiving mode. It's
Yeah.
not like trying to be like, okay, wait, let me clear my mind. Don't think of anything. And then you think of everything.
Right, right. So, and I used to always have a really hard time with meditation because of that,
Hmm.
because I'm like, I don't, my brain just didn't work like that. So I couldn't clear everything out. So I like would get stressed out about the fact that I couldn't meditate, which was the whole point of meditating, is to get rid of the stress. So I do the same thing. I'll be in the shower, and that's when I do my best thinking, when I'm washing my hair.
Yeah.
Or just sitting on the back deck and just looking at the view, or it's, for
Hmm.
me, it's just having just 5 minutes alone, 5 quiet minutes alone, where I'm not mom, I'm not the wife, I'm not the coach, I'm nothing, just
You.
just
Just
the
D.
air.
Yeah. Just D.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I get that. I totally understand that. And I think a lot of times people don't always give themselves that time because they do have those responsibilities.
Mhm.
And then they didn't create those boundaries with their own children.
Yeah,
You have to create boundaries with your kids.
you
I'm
do.
not a parent, but
Yeah, you're fine.
it's like I just experience it through, my close friendships with my
Right,
sister. I see
right.
how she is with the kids, and the kids have more power than she does
Mhm.
because they don't listen to her. So they clearly have
Yeah,
more power.
yeah.
So it's just, I'm all about introspection
Mhm.
and self reflection
Right,
because if you're good, then your outside environment is going to be good.
right. And if it's
So,
not, you'll leave. You take it.
yes, yes, or you turn into, or you take on victim mentality
Yep.
where you're blaming everybody else and you never looked at yourself.
Right,
So it's only when you're like, oh, it's me.
right.
So it's like that Taylor Swift song. Like, it's me. I'm the problem.
Problem is me.
Hi, it's me. Yeah. And when you actually have those moments, it's just such a weight off your
It is.
shoulders because you're like, wait, I was the source of this.
Yeah.
Yes, those things happened to me, and I'm not going to deny that, but
Yeah.
it was in my reaction or my response
Right.
that created the reality that I saw in front of me.
Yeah. Well,
So,
that is like really good stuff. That is good stuff. So what do you have you done any, of the traditional meditation?
for a long time, I was distracted by guided meditations
Mhm.
because they seemed, for a very long time, things were very cookie cutter. And
Yeah.
I just don't fit into that. And I think that's what helps people too, like for meditation. Do whatever works for you.
Yeah.
You can't clear your mind the same way someone else does that.
Right.
So in the past, I had listened more so to like frequency
Hmm.
music,
Yeah.
things to clear my chakras, that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Hmm.
And then I would just sit in silence and I would just create almost like a Zen
Hmm.
zone in my home.
Yeah.
And recently, just because I've found people that I liked on YouTube
I
and I
love it.
like their energy. So, something that I always like to do are full moon and new moon meditations,
Ooh.
just because that's also flowing with
Hmm.
nature.
Yeah.
Because today is actually a full moon, and full moons are about releasing.
Hmm.
And the new moons is when you set those intentions
Right.
up until the next full moon, where you're just like, okay, this didn't work.
Yeah.
So it's almost your own self-assessment. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, I set goals. What worked? What didn't work? Okay,
Mhm.
what do I need to shift moving on the next 30 days?
Right.
If companies only work that way. But
Companies don't work that way, but it's true. Like, I'm listening to you and I'm like, that's pretty much how it goes. Um, so what do you think we can do for companies or corporate places to help them kind of get on board where we're all headed towards?
I think it's just communicating. I think that's where it starts, because you cannot have a process change if
Mhm.
you don't have the buy-in. And
Yep.
you can't have the buy-in if they don't have the awareness or knowledge or understanding. So it's a matter of even asking, first off, do
Yeah.
you want to shift a process? Do
Right.
you see the do you see the issue in the first place?
Yeah.
And a lot of times that may be difficult because technically you're not in that position that the company has hired you for.
Right.
So when I first came into my current company, I was coming from a hospitality company and now I work for an IT company.
Oh,
So
wow. Shift.
hospitality was, oh my God, I loved it there. I loved it because I was like, this is how people are supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're friendly and you're considerate and you
Mm.
actually want to see people grow and you
Yeah.
want to you want them to be in a good place.
Yeah.
Not only the customers, but people that work in the corporate office.
Right.
So when I came into the IT company, I felt like I was in change management,
Yeah.
although I came into training and I was
Yeah.
like, wait, we got to change this, that. Like I
Yeah.
see all the holes, all the things that need to be
Yeah.
fixed, but I didn't have the power to fix
Yeah.
anything.
That's what I was gonna say. How did they receive that? Because I know
I
being
mean,
vocal is not always
that doesn't
easy.
mean anything, because this, like, I can see one facet,
Hmm.
but then what about everything else?
Yep.
That's like the business acumen aspect of it,
Right.
where it's just like, wait, do you understand the whole process of the business?
Right.
But a lot of times, what I've seen in my corporate career is they don't listen to the workers,
Yeah.
they listen to the executives. And
Well, and
then,
that's where politics come
yeah,
in mind because it's politics over people.
unfortunately, but it's the workers on
Mhm.
those lower levels that
Mhm.
actually know what's going on,
Right.
because they're in it on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
They don't just work. The other thing with the hospitality company was they weren't siloed.
Yeah.
Everything has to do with another department.
Mhm.
If you do this right, then that's going to be right for
Yep.
like the next part of the process.
Yeah.
Where I am now, completely siloed, bad communication,
Hmm.
and we're doing double the work
Yeah.
and not getting anywhere. So I keep saying that I feel like we're on a sinking ship and we just keep filling the
Fill in the
holes with
holes.
like corks,
Yeah.
and the corks just keep popping. So it's like you fill one cork and then the next one pops
Yeah.
off. And then you have to go back to the original one.
Right.
So it's being in constant, you're constantly putting out fires
Yeah.
instead of the
Yeah.
thriving. And that's like surviving versus thriving.
Yes.
So
I like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And that's true. Like, are you like, I would ask, our viewers to say, are you really happy with what you're doing? And if you are, like, how are you moving forward? How are you getting better?
So, yeah, go ahead. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no, go ahead.
This was something that I've been dealing with recently because I would always joke and say my job is like a bad relationship.
Mhm.
You know, I just saw the toxicity in it where it's like, okay, we'll advocate for you, but we're still going to keep you down because we need you where you are.
Right.
And if you grow, that means you'll leave.
Yeah.
So we have to keep you down. And I've been in relationships like that.
Yep.
So then that made me realize how so many things in our life are functioning in parallel with each other, but we just
Yeah.
don't see it.
Right.
Because I started to realize, I was like, oh, I wasn't communicating properly in my personal relationships.
Right.
So therefore, I wasn't getting what I wanted or what I needed.
Yeah.
And I figured out, I said, I didn't do that with my job. I just went with the flow. So
Mm-hmm.
when I went with the flow, I'm going to get whatever they give me. And then, you know, I should be happy because at least I'm
Right.
getting something. And I didn't
Right.
ask for anything.
Right.
So this year, when I was setting out to set my annual goals,
Mhm.
I was more vocal. And because of
Good
that,
for
I
you.
got a positive response from my supervisor.
That's
Yet,
awesome.
she cannot have control over how the rest of the company works.
Oh,
So that toxicity in the company kind of overpowers
yeah. Yeah.
whatever agreement or discussion I would have had with my
Right.
supervisor. So, but the point in me saying this is, oh my God, my job like runs in parallel with how
Yeah.
I work in my relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, oh
Uh,
wait, what am I doing in my life?
yeah.
Am I just accepting what comes to me or am I going after what I want?
Right.
And those are like really hard truths because
They
again,
are.
it's hi, it's me. Like,
Mhm.
oh, it's me. I've been holding myself back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've been pointing the finger without realizing that I was pointing the finger.
What's that? When you point a finger, there's three back at you, pointing three back at you. Is that what they say?
I never actually heard that saying, but
Really?
no, I've never heard that saying,
Yeah.
but it makes
I think
sense.
like I'm gonna have to look it up, but I think it's when you point, there's three fingers pointing back at
Right.
you,
That
which
makes, I mean, it makes sense. It's like,
perfect
it's
sense.
really you.
Yeah. So and something I want to say too is that yes, you can only control yourself, but when you're in that toxic relationship, you can't necessarily control the other person. So what do you do? Do you try or not person, but like company, person,
Mm,
all of it. So what do you do when you're in that negative place?
it's really like I'm all about pros and cons lists
Hmm.
because we get caught up in our head.
Oh
But
yeah.
when you start writing it down, and that's like almost the basic form of journaling,
Hmm.
it's just good and bad.
Yeah.
Is this serving me? Is this not serving me? By me staying, what is the consequence?
Yeah.
It's really just looking at both sides and saying, what's for my highest good?
Yeah.
And, you know, who knows who's going to see this video? Like, hopefully it's not someone from my company, but
Oh
oh
God.
well.
Well,
I haven't mentioned who I work for,
oh no,
so,
you're fine. You're fine.
um, but it's really, I'm reevaluating where I am.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, you know what? I was being held down for so long and mixing in the pandemic and, you know, it affected the job market.
Right.
And okay, you better just stay here because you have a job
Right.
and it's paying your bills, but
Right.
yet, and then you get to work from home,
Mhm.
but yet, what is that doing for me? That's
Right.
almost keeping me stuck in my own life. I'm getting caught up in my comfort zone.
Right. Yeah.
And it was so hard for me to get at, like, I don't want to go anywhere anymore. The second, like, I just go food shopping 5 minutes away. And I was like, oh, thank God I'm home. and
No,
I was
I
out for
get
a
it.
half hour.
No, but I get it. I'm a people person. I feel like, I'm an extrovert anyways. But when I go to the grocery store, and if you see me in the grocery store, I'm a different person because I have social anxiety. So when I'm in situations that I deem maybe unsafe in my
Mm,
head, I like panic, like I'm sweating right now, even thinking about it. So it's real. And I wasn't like that before, but
yeah.
mixed in with the pandemic and mixed in with, me limiting myself in my own career, it's a lot. And like,
It
it
it's
really is.
also it really is a lot, and I think it impacts people differently based on their level of self-awareness, to be
Right.
quite honest,
Right.
because there are plenty of people out there, and it's been happening a lot lately to me. I get out on the road and I drive a black SUV,
Hmm.
and people are coming into my lane like I'm not there,
Yeah.
and they just don't see me. And it's because like I feel like they're just in their own world and they're not considerate of other people. But also, they may not be aware of
That there's a problem.
frequencies.
Hmm.
Yeah, even that they have a problem or
Yeah.
frequencies. Because honestly, when you've been through shit, you know how to spot it. So now I'm at that
So
level
true.
where I'm like, oh, I can just see the way that you walk because of
Mhm.
that's the way that you carry yourself. And then I'm not necessarily judging a book
Mhm.
by its cover, but I'm just seeing what
Right.
maybe other people are not paying attention to. So
Right.
I'm really like, I'm definitely in touch with energy and the frequency that you give off. Like
Oh
it's like
yeah.
saying like bad vibes, good vibes. It's
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So I get the whole supermarket thing because I went into Costco and I was like, what is this freaking shit show?
Yeah.
And I went to Costco for my mother and I said, Mom, I love you. Never ask me to go
Never
back there
again.
again.
Yeah.
Never again. People were tripping over me.
Yeah.
People were hitting me with their carts. Like there was absolutely no regard.
Yeah.
It was pure calamity, like it was
Right.
the apocalypse.
Mm.
And it's just a regular day.
See, that's too much. I mean, obviously it has to do with, where you live and stuff like that
Yeah.
and like traffic. So like, because we don't have as much traffic here, but we live in a small area that has a lot of people that live
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. So,
there.
but yes.
That is awesome. I will say that I love your energy. And I know I've told
Yeah.
you this before. I think, that your energy is just calming, and well, it's calming, but it's assertive. And that shows me, that I'm gonna get what I get from you. You know what I mean? Like if you
Oh,
say something to
yeah.
me, that's how it is. Is that right?
It's absolutely correct. And I
Yeah.
wasn't always this way.
Yeah.
It's me standing in my truth.
Yeah.
And I have a friend that she always calls me funny. And I said, what's funny? She goes, it's just the way that you tell the truth.
Mhm.
And I said, I can't help it. Like, it's like I'm a journalist on the scene. I'm
Yeah.
reporting what I see.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you an opinion.
Right.
I'm telling you what it is.
So I think that's fair because we all judge people, right? We might not want to admit it, but when we first see somebody, we judge them. Whether it's, oh, they're tall, oh, they're short, oh, they have brown hair, well, maybe it's not true or whatever. So we're
Right.
always judging people, and it's it's moving past that judgment and not letting that judgment cloud you. Like
Correct.
we were talking about first impressions on a different caller. Maybe it was this call. I don't know. I apologize. Everything's
Possibly.
been running
It's
together.
okay.
Everything's been running together this week. Um, but I feel that if we all communicate with each other and we all tell it the way that we feel that it is, obviously it might not be true, but if you say something, I'm going to base whatever you say based on what I know about you, based on what I think I know about you,
Mm,
and also what I see. So in back to corporate, like I feel like some of the problem is people don't look beyond that first thing. If somebody puts a bad taste in your mouth, the bad taste is there, and you're going to
yes.
always look through that bad taste lens.
And
Um,
first impressions are important.
yeah,
Like it's a real thing.
yeah,
And it's not easy to backtrack on that and be
I'm
like,
not
wait,
good
wait,
at
wait,
first
let's start
impressions.
again. It's,
Yeah.
it always amazes me when you see things about court
Mhm.
and the judge says, okay, let's strike that from the record. And it's
Yeah,
just like, but
it was
how?
already said.
We heard it. You can't unhear what was said. So you want people to be unbiased,
Mhm.
yet you presented information that's going to contribute to them being biased.
Right.
So it's almost like a game.
Mhm.
Like, how are you negating something like that? But I think it's difficult to get to what you're describing
Mhm. It is.
because, and I'm just going to speak on American life because I
Yeah.
don't know what life is in other countries.
Yeah.
We're very competitive
Mhm.
and it's a very me first.
Yeah.
I see that when I'm driving
Well, yeah.
and someone sped past me, and then at the end of the day, we ended up at the same light. And
Mhm.
he was in front of me and I was behind him. And I was like, what did you accomplish by
Yeah.
speeding ahead of me? Because it's just like, it's always this me first, me
Right.
first. No, I'm more important. No,
Right.
I have, it's just not having consideration for people around you. And
Right.
consideration doesn't mean compromising yourself. It
Mhm.
just means like, oh, should I adjust
Yeah.
just slightly? Or maybe I
Yeah.
won't react,
Right.
because if someone cuts you off, a lot of times people are have the road rage and
Mhm.
they'll tail end you just to teach you a lesson.
Oh
And
my
it's
god.
very eye for an eye, you know?
Yeah. An eye for an eye makes everybody blind.
Yes. See, you're coming up with the sayings, the three fingers, the
Yeah.
making
But I
people
mean,
blind.
that was Mahatma Gandhi, but yeah,
Yes, I
like
know, but I'm just
I
saying.
like to find them. But and honestly, that's what my kids will repeat back to me because I say that, and like my daughter Marie will go, "Yeah, everybody's gonna be blind."
It's true. It's like, what are you accomplishing? It's really, it's unfortunate. I just have this vision of more of a utopia,
Yeah.
but I feel like we're falling into dystopia and we
Yeah.
don't see it because we're in such a trance to
Right.
everything, especially with AI. And
Mm.
I was like, oh my God, the
Yeah.
stuff that they're doing with AI, but
Right.
it's going to control us. The digital currency,
Mm-hmm.
people think that it's a good thing until you're being controlled.
Right.
And it's
Yeah.
just, they think it's the natural progression of technology. And it's like, oh, that's great. Yes, we are intelligent beings. We
Yeah.
can create these things, but that doesn't mean that it's good for us.
No, and there needs to be like what does it cost you? How much how much does it cost emotionally, physically, the whole thing? Like what are you giving up for it and what does it accomplish? And that's sort of how I look at like what am I going to get out of this that I can give to other people? So
Hmm.
yeah, so I get what you're saying that like it is, because you're in your own brain. So you're going to
Yeah.
be, you're self-absorbed. We're all self-absorbed, right? Because we're in our own brain. So I like to tell myself a story about other people. Like you were talking about driving. So I was recently in New York, which I live in Virginia. So sorry, but New York and New Jersey drivers are a little more aggressive than people down here.
Absolutely. I won't go to New York for that
Yeah.
reason. I refuse to drive in New York.
Well, and that's what I was driving up there and somebody had cut me off. And of course, at first I was like, started swearing. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe that's not true. Maybe he's about to shit his pants. So he needed to get to the rest area as fast as possible, or else he was going to shit his pants. So I don't blame
Exactly.
him.
Yeah, you almost have to say, you know what? I don't know that other person's story.
Mhm.
I don't know their motivation,
Yeah,
but I can't allow somebody else's behavior to affect who I
right.
am and who I show up as.
Exactly. Because when I was in that car, like when I tell you I was, blowing up, I was blowing up because I was,
I believe you because I know how they drive.
yeah, I was like trying to
They're
get,
like the least considerate people on
yeah,
the road,
it's
and they're
hard.
infiltrating New Jersey, and you're like, you look at the license plate and you're like, oh, okay, I got it, New York. And then you look at Pennsylvania, because
Yeah.
those are like the two states that are
Mhm.
always kind of in New Jersey. And you're like, oh, okay, that's the reason. And in a way, I am kind of judging them based on their license plate,
Right.
but that's the story I'm telling myself, to be like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, that's the reason. Like, okay, I'll give you a pass.
Yeah.
Like, what is that going to do for me? Like, I'm not going to chase you down. I'm
Mm-mm.
not like, you didn't hurt me. You didn't do anything. You're just
No.
being a jerk on the road.
Yeah, and how does that that shows that negative actions by can affect us, but it doesn't have to.
Right. Like, we always kind of have to imagine this, like, this aura, this force field around us. And it's just like, wait, is it able to penetrate that?
Yeah.
Or are we still protected? Like, go at, like, before you step out the door, just imagine that protective energy around
Yeah.
you. And you're like, okay, I'm not going to let this bother me.
Right.
But when you think of it as something tangible,
Hmm.
it's a little bit easier for you to, I guess, accept it, and
Yeah.
to be like, okay, you're not gonna like get past my
Right.
gates, my boundaries.
Yeah. I mean,
So
and
when
that has to do with trust too, I feel like. So if you're someone who has been hurt in the past, if that same type of situation shows up, you're going to have the same reaction if you don't deal with that.
right, I've had many conversations with an individual that doesn't trust men
Mhm.
because of one experience that she had that was just really traumatic for her.
Yeah. But just one.
And
Mm.
just one, and
Wow.
then that one,
Yeah.
without realizing it, leads to all those other bad ones. They're
Yep.
not as bad as the first one, but they're still bad. And
Cycles.
yeah, it's picking up on your own personal patterns.
Hmm.
And I finally realized, almost on her behalf, I
Hmm.
was like, it's not that you don't trust men, you don't trust your own judgment and your own intuition,
There it is.
because she's a very, what does it look like on paper?
Right.
And she hasn't tapped into that inner knowing of like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm getting like a weird
Yeah.
feeling.
She doesn't know
And
herself.
right. And she does, but she doesn't. I think she knows herself to a certain
Hmm.
level or extent,
Right.
but she hasn't dived deeper. She doesn't
Right.
know how to do that. And I feel like she, uh, her upbringing
Mhm.
and
Oh yeah.
the culture she grew up in had an effect on that,
Hmm.
because it was very like hands off and leave it into somebody else's hands, a higher
Right.
power.
Right.
But we are part of the higher power, so we can control it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's like a whole
That's a
nother
whole nother conversation,
that's a whole nother thing.
which I would love to have. So I love talking. So,
Yeah.
Well, is there anything, let's see, is there anything that you want to talk about? Like, I love this because this is just a conversation.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to transition and figure out like what to do with this podcast. And I love this because this is exactly what I want. I wanted, a nice
Yeah.
conversation. So is there anything else you'd like to add?
You know, I love talking too, and if you prompt me, I can go on for hours.
Same.
So, I mean, it's almost asking, how much water is in the ocean.
A
It's
lot.
all in there.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of, it's a matter of, hey, is there something you would like to discuss?
Yeah.
Is there something you want to know more about? Or like, oh, I'm interested in what your opinion is, because
Yeah.
I almost feel like I'm a human encyclopedia. Not that I know the facts about
Right.
everything, but I have an opinion on
Right.
things. I have a viewpoint on things.
Mhm.
So to ask me that question is almost impossible to answer,
All right. So
to be
ask another
honest.
one then. So if you had, okay, let's do this. So you
Okay.
were talking about utopia, right? So
Yes.
in a perfect world that you deem perfect, um, 10 years in the future, what are you doing? Where are you? What's happening?
Me personally or the world as a collective?
Let's do you personally.
Okay. Oh my
The
goodness.
world, that's a big one too.
I know. Um, for a few years, I honestly would tell people I just want to be like, you see it in these fairy tale stories of, you just live in this village
Oh, okay.
somewhere
Like Belle
in
with,
nature, like in the jungle or
oh,
something,
okay.
or
Mhm.
in the forest, wherever, just like far off place. And like, there's always that one wise person that
Mhm.
everyone goes to. Like, I want to be that oracle. I want to be like that shaman for people,
Oh,
not because I'm smarter or wiser, but
no,
just because I can be a resource for
right.
people. I'm not saying that I'm the best. I'm not. But I also know where I was and where I am now and where I can be 10
Right.
years from now.
Right.
So it's more giving back
Mhm.
without condition, because a lot of times and ways that I've held myself back
Mhm.
have been, well, if I do this, how do I monetize it?
Right.
It was all about monetizing.
Yeah.
And it never sat with me because
Right.
that's not what I'm looking for. Yes,
Right.
I want that stability and security that money gives,
Mhm.
but if I have that without the money, what's the point of the money?
Right.
It doesn't serve a purpose. So
Right.
it's almost like I would love to just have a place by the ocean. Here's my house.
Yep.
I wake, like, I almost want to be like Snow White, like, okay, the animals wake up. And I was just actually sharing this with my cousin the other day. And I was like, and I realized this is what I want out of a relationship as well, where I'm like, oh, I just imagine my mind being this personal forest. It's this mystical forest,
I love it.
and I can't get lost. I'm just curious, and my curiosity leads me to where I need to go. And that's almost that meditative state of, I'm not trying to get a certain answer, but what I'm meant to know, it
Right.
will be brought to my attention.
Right.
And then I'm just thinking about like all like forest animals and fairies and things like that, just like mystical creatures. And they're just there for me. I want to lay on the grass and they're going to
Right.
lay down a blanket for me. And I
Oh,
was like, and I had that realization in the moment. I was like, oh my God, this is what I want from my relationships.
yeah.
Like, anticipate my needs.
Mhm.
Don't ask me. Lead.
Right.
Be that, be that, be that divine masculine. Because when you are creating that safe space for me,
Mhm.
I'm going to give you 10 times more
Yep.
than what you're giving me. And it's so obvious,
Mhm.
but it's not obvious until you personally realize that.
Right.
So I think my future is just,
Snow White.
I'm good with myself.
Yeah.
I have inner peace.
Yeah.
I'm spiritually connected and I have healthy relationships.
I mean, yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I would say the ability to recognize too when you don't have a good relationship or when you have a non-productive relationship, because
Yeah.
sometimes you can get caught in that same cycle, but being able to have that self-awareness and saying, you know what? Nah, it's not for me. Like that takes a very courageous person.
You know, I'll admit that I'm in that position like today, like right now. This is my current reality.
Yeah.
And I keep allowing this person into my life
Mhm.
when I know they're not doing anything maliciously against
Right.
me.
Right.
They're not like that, but I know
Mhm.
that that person is not for my highest good.
Right.
They're not leading me anywhere. We're just in
Eh,
existence.
yeah. You're just kind of surviving. You're not living it. You're not living
Yes,
your life
and
together.
and then I realized another personal truth. I realized that the men I've had in my life,
Mhm.
because I'm not married,
Right.
the men that I've had in my life have all been those parts of me
Mhm.
that I had to heal.
Yep.
And that's why I attached to them, because I saw a part of me in them. And then if I fix them, you
Right.
can't fix
You can't
anybody.
fix anyone.
Or
Yeah.
if I healed them, I would heal myself. And it's just like, oh no, 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 no.
Don't work that
I
way.
realize that now. And now the women in my life, because
Yeah.
I think I'm very selective with
Yeah.
who I have in my life. I have like my top 5 people that are my go-to, you know? Yes, I know a lot of people, but I'm
Yeah.
not going to all those people.
Mm-mm.
But all these women are just strong women in their own right. And it's just like, oh, these women are a reflection of me,
Right.
but I don't see that in myself yet. So
Right.
it's almost like that's why I
Yeah.
want to be around them, because you're supposed to surround yourself
Mhm.
with people that you want to be like,
Yeah.
you know? And they
That's
say
where
that
you get
about,
messed up, right? Because
mhm,
you think you see something in someone, but maybe it's not a part of you that you actually like. You just
right? It might be
part
that shadow side of yourself,
yeah.
that darker side.
Mhm.
And sometimes you have to go through it to get through it.
Yeah.
So now I'm realizing that and I'm like, but I got used to this person in my life,
Yeah.
but I know that I'm holding on to them because it's good enough for now.
Right.
But by holding on to what's not good for me, I am not allowing the space in my life to
Mhm.
allow something new. So I
Yeah.
always say, like I always
Exactly.
give the analogy of like, if you don't clean out your closet, you can't get new clothes because
Right.
where are you going to put them?
Right.
So it's just you have to clean it out. It's like
Mhm.
just like that 30-day self-assessment, do a 30-day like spring cleaning every
Yeah.
30 days. Like, wait, what have I acquired? Do I need this anymore? Okay, let's throw that out. And I've been doing that little
Yeah.
by little, taking things from like donating clothes,
Mhm.
cleaning out under my bed, what's
Yeah.
in my closet, cleaning out your fridge. How many times do you have like super expired things in your fridge?
Oh
I
my God.
definitely do.
Well, the good thing is so my kids, if they see it's expired, even if it's by a day, they throw it out.
Yeah.
Which my husband, what like, because he'll eat something if it's just expired by one day. But
Yeah.
they're pretty good with that. But we have a lot of leftovers for sure
Yes.
in our
Yes, I
fridge.
understand that. Well, I think I was more so referring to those things in a jar that you
Oh,
open it and then you're like,
yeah,
how long have I had this?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like there's dust piling up in the fridge on
yeah.
these jars. You're like, you need to throw these out.
Yeah, maybe you should throw them out. Yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah. So,
Well, this has been an amazing conversation.
yes, I love it. Thank you.
Yes, I love, again, I just love your energy. And I had said earlier before we started record that like you could be my sister here.
Yeah.
So it's always nice to connect with people that are like-minded and are as
Definitely.
passionate about, creating positive energies as I am. So thank you
Yes.
for
I
that.
and I see it from you too because you're just always smiling.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to. Wasn't like
Yeah.
that for a while, but
No,
when
no. We
you make the
all
choice.
I feel like those that have that aura about them are the
Mhm.
ones that have been through it. And they're like, okay, I'm not going to be a victim to my
Yeah.
circumstances.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I wake up in the morning and I choose who I want to be.
Hmm.
And
That's
you
really
do.
what it is
Mhm,
because the thing that stops us is fear because our
mhm,
minds
mhm.
are hardwired to keep us safe. So
Yep.
anything that's new or out of the ordinary is not safe
Mm-mm.
automatically to our brains.
Yeah. And
So
then
we
that's
just keep holding
self-sabotage.
ourselves back. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's just like go out and do it. And when I say these things, I'm telling myself the same thing because I'm not
Yeah.
immune to it.
You're an out loud processor is what I see. And that's what I am. I'm an out
Yeah.
loud processor. And I had to like kind of reiterate to people because they're like, well, why are you saying that if you don't think it? I was like, you don't understand. I'm telling myself. I'm not
Mm,
telling you. I'm telling myself. And because I have to believe in myself. And for a long time I didn't. So
yes, I
do that
understand that.
the outdoor processing.
And it's crazy because whenever, I mean, the people close to me, they come to me for advice.
Mhm.
And they're not saying I need advice per se. It's just because we're friends and it's just like, oh, what do you think?
Yeah,
And I always look at it as like, oh, someone close to me, that means that there is an energy shared between us.
yeah,
So whatever they're going through, some aspect of that is also occurring in my life. So if I help them, I help myself. So
and
it's
that's
just a
huge.
constant give and take. And that also helps you to not drain yourself
Yeah,
because you're like, oh my God, I keep like telling them the same thing. But like, hey, maybe that was something that you haven't recognized in
right.
yourself.
Yeah.
Where is this showing up in my life?
I say,
Because,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that I recognized it in my life with
Yeah,
somebody that I'm like, I walked into their apartment
yeah,
and I was like, oh, their apartment is very reflective of their personality because their apartment was very compartmentalized. And I was like, oh, okay, this is how
yeah,
you
yeah,
compartmentalize different aspects of your life and different people.
yeah,
And then that also affects your emotions and how you
right,
express yourself. And then I compared it to my apartment where it's more open concept.
right.
But then I went deeper into that and I was like, oh my God, I do. I portray myself as being open, but
Mhm.
then there's a lot of aspects of me that I don't show to people.
Yeah,
And at first I was like, oh my God, I'm not being authentic. But then I realized I'm just setting boundaries.
yeah.
Not everyone has to know everything about you.
That's a hard one to, especially if you're someone who has always looked to connect with people. That's a tough one.
Well, there's an air of people pleasing to that as well,
There's a lot of that.
because honest to God, I've had a lot of revelations over the last couple months.
Oh yeah.
Um, And I just realized my people pleasing in the past was I needed to be what someone needed me to be in order for them to accept me.
Yeah.
And now I'm standing in my power and saying, well, I am who I am.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, that means you don't match my frequency, which means you can't be a part of my life.
Right.
I cut people out so fast because I go against my gut feeling or my intuition, because I'm like, oh, well, you know, let's see. Like, I brought somebody into my life recently and we said we're going to be friends because it started out as a date. And then we both agreed. We're like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
We're not attracted to each other. And then this person's like, oh, well, how about we're friends? I said, sure. I mean, I don't have a lot of guy friends in my life.
We could be friends.
They're mostly women.
Yeah.
And then within a week, I cut it off with this person because I saw, in just the way he behaved, I was like, this person doesn't match me. I couldn't let the guilt keep me around, because that would actually be pulling at me and dragging me back and holding me back, because that's just another form of baggage. I was like, I can't take you with me. So it's just honest. I wish I knew how to teach these things.
If you find out, let me know.
I've been thinking about it for many years, and it really comes down to be curious with yourself. Don't judge yourself, because it's like, if you keep on saying, okay, why did I allow that? Why did I do that? Like, and judging yourself while you're saying it, just instead, you almost have to like change the tone of that question and to be like, huh, I wonder why I did that.
Yeah.
And just explore it and observe it, and then almost heal from it, like your own observation of yourself.
Right.
And realizing the root cause is healing.
Yeah.
As long as you don't continue on with that same pattern. You can't just realize it and just keep doing it.
Yeah, for me, that is an issue. If you are well aware that your behavior is having a negative effect on you, someone you love, work, whatever, and you're not willing to take accountability for it and change it, you know. And some people, that's fine. Some people are fine, but whatever way you decide you want to be, you have to be okay with the consequences of that as well.
I mean, in the beginning of this self rediscovery journey, I was just so excited about all these insights I was getting, and I wanted to help other people and actually change and be like, no, this is the way. You should do this and that and the other. And then I started to realize, I was like, you know what? We're all on our own journeys. We all have our own lessons, our own karma that we have to work through. Yes, you may be able to help them in some aspect, but you can't help them in every aspect of their being. So once you accept, and it also goes back to like the road rage. You're like, I don't know what's going on with you. So I'm going to let you be who you are, but you're just not going to get into my energy field, and you're not going to affect me. And that's really what it is. It's it really is like Shakespeare. Like, you really are, you're the actor on the stage, but you're also an audience member. So it's not easy to participate and observe at the same time.
It's not. And I love that. I'm gonna steal that just to let you know.
Okay.
But yeah, it is. I've never thought of it that way. That's because you really are. You're watching these things happen in your own life and you're processing them internally. So
Mhm.
you're the audience member, and it's like you're the director, you're the actor, you're all of it.
You're everything.
Yeah.
You're everything. And then once we really realize that we are all those things, it's just like, oh wow, I have way more control over my life than I thought.
Yeah. That was my aha moment. And so I was like, oh wait, I don't have to do this. Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
exactly. Exactly. Yes.
Well, this
So,
again has been a
yeah, I
great
know.
conversation.
Yes, it has.
So I, of course, would love to work with you. You know that. I'm sure. Oh, I hope you know that.
Yeah,
Um,
yes, I would
yeah,
love to do that too, because
yeah,
I think we're
I think we're good.
we're on the same page.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I will actually contact you separately, and maybe we'll just set up some time where we can
Yeah, of
um
course.
talk about how we're gonna change the world
Yeah, all right. Little by little.
a little by little.
Everything starts with a baby step.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What is that saying that you have to take small bites to eat an elephant? Like it might be
Oh,
huge, but you
yeah.
gotta,
That makes sense.
yeah.
See, you're saying things that I'm like, I never heard this stuff.
Well, good. See,
But
now
it
you have
all
stuff
makes
to use.
sense. It's the cliches. Once your mind and your soul are just
Mhm.
in higher connection, all those cliches make sense.
They do.
Like home is where the heart is.
Hmm.
Yeah, that actually is true
Hmm.
because it's just like I can be happy anywhere. My
Anyway.
your first home is your body.
Yep. 100%.
So if I'm happy, then my home is going to be happy
Yeah,
because I'm there.
I
So,
agree.
yeah,
I
it's
agree. Well, your home certainly looks happy right now.
thank you.
So you're welcome. Mine is too.
Yes,
So
always
I
smiling.
will chat with you later. Thank you so much
Yes,
for
of
this
course. Thank you,
conversation.
Dee. Yes, I had fun. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.